To my sister whose strength was silent, I've struggled to write this because I wouldn't have done what you did, and part of me wishes you hadn't either. You carried more than anyone should, and I wish you had let someone carry you. You were the one they turned to, but who did you turn to? I don't know why you never asked for help. I don't know why you chose to hold it all in. But I do know this: you did it out of love, and that love was heavy. I won't pretend to be you, but I will remember you, not as a perfect sister, not as someone who made no mistakes, but as someone who loved deeply and gave more than she had. And that is something I will carry in my own way.
Chapter 1. The night she came home. I keep trying to trace it back, to find the moment when everything started to shift. Not the day she died, not the diagnosis. Earlier than that. Maybe it began in May 2018, when she came home. After 10 years abroad, she returned with quiet purpose. She didn't say much that night. But I remember her eyebrows. Thin. Faded in some spots. She said it always happened when she was stressed, that sometimes even clumps of hair would come out in her hands. Coming home feels new, she said. A different kind of new. It's like starting over in a place that's supposed to be familiar. I don't think any of us saw it then, what she was about to take on. Papa's mind was slipping, the business was struggling, and the family wasn't exactly whole. But she stepped in anyway, quietly, like she always did. And now, looking back, I wonder, what if she had stayed abroad? What if she had chosen a different path, one that wasn't paved with responsibility? What if she had let us all come together to find a way, instead of believing she had to carry it alone? These questions circle in my mind more than I'd like to admit. They whisper in the quiet hours, when grief becomes a mirror, and I start asking the wrong questions, to find peace, to understand, to make sense of it, or maybe just to stop feeling the ache. And in the stillness of imagination, when memory softens just enough to let something new in, I see her, not frail, not sick, just sitting beside me on a quiet afternoon. Her face calm, her voice gentle. She looks at me, not with apology, but with love, and says, "I carried what I carried because I thought I had to. But you don't have to do the same. Let it go. Breathe now. You're still here. Let go, not of me, but of the weight." And for a moment the ache lifts. Not because I've forgotten, but because I'm finally beginning to forgive myself for remembering in pieces, in questions, in silence. Chapter 2. The business that became a burden. When she came home, she didn't just unpack her bags, she unpacked a sense of duty that no one asked for, but that she took on anyway. She stepped into the business like someone trying to save a sinking ship. No announcement, no complaints, just quiet commitment. Receipts, ledgers, schedules. She started showing up every day, managing people, fixing things. I think at the time, we all let her. Because she seemed to be okay. And for a while, she was. The business stabilized. The debts, years in the making, were almost gone. She was getting it done. Alone. Then the pandemic came, and with it, another kind of unraveling. I didn't ask for details. I didn't push. I just saw her become quieter, more tired, more distant. I didn't know the numbers. I didn't want to. Maybe part of me thought, if I didn't look too closely, I wouldn't have to feel the weight of it too. But deep down, I also didn't believe she had to carry it. Not like that. To me, the business was never worth that kind of sacrifice. Let it go. Sell it. Live a simpler life. But that wasn't her way. She believed in saving it, even if it meant losing parts of herself along the way. And then one day, in November 2021, she broke. We had visited. We were just about to leave. It was already dark, and we were standing by the car in the parking lot. She cried, and in between quiet sobs she said, "I need your help with Papa, even just for a while." Her voice cracked. Her body, so strong for so long, felt small. She said she was almost done with the debts, but I can't remember what else she said after that. All I really remember is how her walls finally gave in, and how tightly I hugged her. I told her, "You did a good job. You have done enough. This is not your burden to carry. Let it go. You did not fail." It took everything in me to say those words. Talking like that, honest, emotional, it's not something we do easily in our family. We don't talk about real things. Not often. Not around a dinner table. not without someone getting hurt or walking away. But in that moment, I meant it. And I think part of her heard it, even if she couldn't fully believe it yet. And if I imagine her now, sitting beside me on that same curb, no tears this time, just stillness, I'd ask again, "Why didn't you let go?" And she might smile gently, eyes soft, and say, "I thought holding it together was love, but maybe letting it fall apart would have been love too." Reflection. If I could go back to that night, looking back on that moment in the parking lot, I realized I didn't know how to care in the way I wanted to. I said the right words, but I said them fightingly, like I was defending her, defending myself, like I wanted to push the weight off of her shoulders, not gently take it. My hug wasn't soft. It was tense, like I was bracing against everything that was wrong. I was angry at the world, at the unfairness of it all. Angry that she had to carry what she carried. I wanted her to take another path, a different one, a freer one. Maybe that was me being simple-minded. Maybe that was me not yet understanding the full shape of her love. Now as I work on my own healing, I see how much I still had to learn. About softness. About how to say something kindly, not just correctly. About how to love without urgency. About how to offer peace, not just resistance. If I could go back to that night, I would say the same words but slower, softer. I would hug her with warmth, not just strength. Because sometimes, what someone needs most is not a savior, but a safe place to fall. Chapter 3. The things we didn't say. Our family didn't talk much. Not about real things, anyway. We joked. We gave instructions. We shared updates. But the big stuff, the fear, the sadness, the anger, the ache, those things stayed buried. Carried quietly. Stored in glances or silence or tension in the room. That's just how we were. Too much talking always led to conflict. Too much emotion made people uncomfortable. So we all learned how to hold things in. And I think that's part of why I never really asked her what she was feeling. Even when I noticed she was tired. Even when I saw the shift. Even when something felt off. I remember once she said it jokingly to Papa, "I might die first." He frowned. "Don't say that," he told her. No one laughed. No one followed up. We just moved on. That's what we did. Looking back, I think she was trying to say something. Not just about death, but about what was building inside her. But we didn't ask. And she didn't offer. It's not that I didn't care, it's that I didn't know how to care out loud. Because part of loving someone, I've learned, is saying something even if your voice shakes. Even if they might push you away. Even if it's awkward. But back then, I didn't have that kind of courage. So the things I wanted to say, I kept them inside. I love you. I see you. I'm worried. Please let me in. None of it came out. I just did what I thought was enough. I showed up when asked. I stayed out of the way. And now, there are words I still carry, that never found a way to reach her. And if I imagine her now, hearing the words I never said, maybe she'd look at me and say, "You didn't have to say it perfectly, I would have heard it anyway." But I understand. We were all trying, in our own quiet ways. Chapter 4. What I could have done better. Papa was buried in April. We were all tired. The kind of tired that lives under the skin. It was the day after the funeral, barely any time to breathe, when she went to the doctor. She said she was having trouble breathing. They found water in her lungs. I didn't know how to respond. Maybe I acted like it wasn't a big deal. Maybe I was nonchalant. Not out of carelessness, but because I didn't know how to respond. Emotion wasn't something we practiced in our family. Not openly. Not kindly. She asked if I could help. Just stay at the hospital for a day or two. And I did. But I didn't go in with warmth. I went in like it was a task. A job. Something to finish. I wasn't gentle. Not with her. Not with myself. Looking back, I could have said more. I could have sat with her differently. Even if she might have gotten annoyed, or pushed me away, I still should have been there with more intention. Not just present, but offering presence. But back then, every time I came home, I felt like I was losing pieces of myself. I didn't know how to care and recharge at the same time. So I did what I could. And I still wonder if it was enough. After a few days she was discharged from the hospital. The doctors were still figuring out what was going on. And she was waiting, quietly, for the results. Then came Mother's Day. May 2022. We gathered. Everyone was there. We took a family photo. She looked like herself. Not like someone who was sick. Not yet. There was a softness in her smile that day. Maybe a bit tired, maybe distracted. But she was still whole. She even asked me to help her change her bandage. I did. But even then, I thought, why doesn't she hire someone? She could afford help. She had the means. It didn't have to be us. Because in our family, relying on each other hasn't always gone well. We love each other, yes, but we exhaust each other too. Sometimes love in our house meant holding back, not leaning in. I'll never understand why she didn't make things easier for herself, but I also know she was used to surviving. And when you're used to surviving, asking for ease can feel like weakness. That Mother's Day was the last time we were all together. The first and only family photo we'd ever taken. None of us knew it then. But maybe part of her did. And if I let myself imagine now, just a quiet room, her and I sitting side by side again, I'd turn to her and say, you didn't have to do it alone. You could have asked for more, for yourself. And she might answer, not with frustration or pride, but simply, I didn't know how to ask. But you didn't fail me. You stayed, even if you didn't know how to stay softly. Chapter 5. The Distance Between Us. When she was diagnosed with lung cancer in June, it wasn't announced. It was mentioned, almost casually, like something already decided. I didn't ask questions. Not because I didn't care, but because I didn't know how. Our family didn't grow up with soft language. We spoke in fragments. In sighs. In silence. When things got tense, someone would raise their voice, or leave the room, or stop replying. We were all made of sharp edges. And when sharp edges live together, you learn to keep your distance. I wasn't close to my sister, not in the way people talk about sisterhood in books or shows. We were just right, just there, connected by paper, history, by blood, by duty. But not tenderness, not warmth. Still, looking back, I think she wanted more from me. Maybe she expected it, kindness, softness, someone to lean on. But I wasn't that kind of person yet, especially not with family. Maybe it's because we were always on edge. Like everyone was ready to snap. Like any attempt to open up would turn into another wound. I remember telling myself to stay small and quiet. Don't step into the tension. Don't draw attention. Just find a way to disappear until things settle. Because that's how I learned to stay safe. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe it was star signs. It took me years to realize we were born under incompatible skies, each of us carrying weather the others could never predict. But the truth? We didn't know how to love each other gently. We just knew how to survive. And if I imagine her now, not sick, not exhausted, just calm, I'd tell her the truth. I didn't know how to be what you needed. I'm learning now. But back then, I just didn't know how to be close without getting cut. And maybe she'd nod, not in blame, but in understanding. I wanted your care, but I didn't know how to ask without sounding weak or demanding. And maybe you didn't know how to give what you never had, or hadn't yet learned. When care feels cringy, or simply, yuck. I used to feel weird when I tried to show care. Like it wasn't me. Like it was forced, or fake, or just, yuck. I didn't grow up knowing how to be soft. Not with words. Not with touch. Not even with presence. In our family, gentleness wasn't our first language. We knew duty. We knew endurance. But affection, openness, saying I'm here, it often came out stiff. Or not at all. So when I tried to hug someone gently, or speak kindly, or show concern without sounding annoyed, my whole body would rebel. It would feel uncomfortable. Like I was pretending. But now I know. That yuck feeling? It wasn't because I was doing something wrong. It was because I was doing something new. I was trying to be someone no one had taught me how to be. And that's not cringy, that's courage. Chapter 6. Being there, not knowing how. After the diagnosis, I didn't rush in. I waited. I told myself, if they need me, they'll ask. And for a while they didn't. It was just her and Mama. And so I waited. July, August, September. We visited once, for Mama's birthday. But the air was tense. She was having issues with her son, and everything felt like walking on glass. By then, she had set up a small store in front of the house, something to keep her busy. She was still helping with government documents for the other business. Still moving. Still functioning. She even had a new hobby, diamond portraits. Tiny pieces placed one by one. Maybe it helped her feel in control. There were days she was in pain. There were days she seemed okay. But I didn't ask too much. I was afraid of saying the wrong thing. Afraid of triggering anger. Afraid of making her feel worse. October. November. December. Christmas came and went. New Year too. No big celebration. Just surviving. Just trying to live as is. February. March. April. Her birthday. We visited again, but I think I upset her. I don't even remember how. I just remember walking away after greeting her, like it was easier not to engage. And now? I wish I had stayed. I wish I had learned how to stay even when it felt uncomfortable. Even when I didn't feel wanted. Even when I wasn't sure what to say. But back then, I wasn't that person yet. I was still learning courage. Still learning how to be close without bracing for pain. Around June, my birthday, her birthday, I once overheard her say, "It's my diagnosis day. I'm 1 year old." I don't know if it was a joke or a milestone, but it stuck with me. Then in July, I received a message. She needed help, and this time the request came from her. So I went home. I didn't know what to do, but I followed her lead. I helped her bathe, put oil on her skin, organized her things, fixed what needed fixing. Just stayed. I was there during the week. On weekends, Saturday and Sunday, I went back to my place to recharge. It wasn't ideal, but I needed it. And at least I was trying. I asked Mama why she didn't have paid help. Why she didn't hire someone. She can afford it. We tried to work on that. Tried to make things more sustainable. Because the truth is, relying solely on family never worked well for us. We love each other, yes, but we drain each other too. There were nights when the pain was too much for her. Hot compresses helped. Sometimes, just sitting near her was all I could offer. One day we talked, really talked about her hurt. She told me how I had made her feel. We both cried. I said sorry. It was real. It was raw. But even then, I still wasn't soft. Still not the sister I wish I had been. I remember the day I cried in front of Mama. It was the first time I really spoke about myself. I told her I needed a reliever. That I needed rest. Not because I didn't want to be there, but because I was burning out. I wasn't angry when I said it. I wasn't even guilty. I was just tired. Tired of the silence, the weight, the effort of keeping everything together without falling apart. I was also pushing for change. For someone else to help care for her. Because in my experience we tend to treat each other better when there's someone not family in the middle. Maybe it's the pressure. Maybe it's the history. My sister has a difficult way about her. But then again, so do I. We all do. Different shapes of the same wound. There were hospital visits. And the heaviness of everything that wasn't said. Because in our family, even love came with raised voices or long silences. Even care came with edges. And through it all she still wanted to fight. She didn't see her time as near. She still wanted to live. I saw that in her eyes. She wasn't ready to go. She was still trying. That was the difficult part. Being in the room with doctors who gently spoke of the end, while watching her hold on to something else. I remember messaging her once about the book, Tuesdays with Morrie. I told her how they prepared, how they talked about the end. Even the idea of a living funeral, to say everything while the person is still here. But she got mad. Maybe it was the message. Maybe it was the timing. Maybe it was that I said it through a screen. And I've wondered since, would it have been different if I had said it in person? Maybe. But I didn't know how. I struggle with real feelings when there's no third person to hold the space. Someone to soften the blow or make sure I'm not saying it wrong. I think I'm afraid not just of their anger but of my own missteps. Of being misunderstood. Of being cut off, or walked away from, or shut out with silence. Because that's how we grew up. That was our language. Avoidance. Sharpness. Silence. If I imagine us now, sitting quietly, no oxygen machine, no tension, I'd want to say, I didn't always know how to be gentle, but I was learning beside you. You were teaching me even as you were fading. And maybe she'd look at me, tired but kind, and say, you didn't fail me. Even when you stumbled you showed up. That's more than enough. The age we were. One difficult day, not loud, just slow and heavy. I sat down with a notebook and wrote down everyone's year of birth. Lolo, Lola, Papa, Mama, siblings. And then, beside each one, I wrote how old they would be now. How old they were when I was born. How old I was when they turned 40, 50, 60. And I tried to remember, who was I then? Who were they? And suddenly, I saw it differently. Mama had me when she was still figuring herself out. Lola was already tired when I was just learning to ask for things. Papa was working hard, but also just trying to survive his own wounds. She, my sister, was 41. And now, I'm 40. Maybe that's why she wasn't ready. She still wanted to do more, live more. And maybe I wasn't ready either. To lose her. To see her not just as my sister, but as a woman still trying to become herself. We all carry different weights at different ages, and sometimes, we can only understand someone once we finally reach the age they were when they broke, or bloomed, or left. Maybe it was the Holy Spirit who made me write that list. Maybe it was just me, trying to understand, trying to forgive, trying to hold all of us a little more gently. Chapter 7: The Last Few Days. August began quietly. I had taken the weekend to recharge, like I always did. It was part of the rhythm I'd learned to live with. Show up, help, go home, reset, repeat. Later, Mama shared a story with me. She said that on the night of August 6th, my sister was restless. She kept pacing, like something inside her wouldn't settle. She asked Mama to bring her to the hospital. And before that, she counted coins, asked Mama to help. She said she'd buy an ice cream. I tried to laugh, but it brought tears to my eyes. There was something about it, a quiet tug in my chest I couldn't name. I remembered her telling that same story once, back when she was caring for Papa. I tried to laugh then too, but it hurt a little. Maybe it was the helplessness, or maybe I knew that death was somewhat near. On August 7th, I was on my way back, but by the time I arrived at the hospital, she had already been revived, technically. But she wasn't conscious anymore. It was the machines keeping her body here. Mama and I stayed beside her. She said we'd pray the rosary until the very end, and so we did. One of our siblings was overwhelmed, angry, heartbroken. She witnessed her death process, and she was furious that her son wasn't there. But I stayed quiet. I didn't say much that day. I just did what needed to be done. I was grateful Manang Connie and Manang Emily were there. They helped hold the space. Because honestly, I didn't know what to do. It was my first time facing something like that. The in-between place, where life is still present but already fading. I felt a little lost, like I had stepped into a room with no map, no words, just breath, and the waiting. If I could go back, I wouldn't try to fix anything. I wouldn't say more than I knew how to say. I would just sit there beside her, again, hold her hand, and say, I'm here, and I see you, and you don't have to carry anything anymore. And if I imagine her now, far from machines and tension, she looks at me with peace in her face and says, you were there, even when you didn't know what to do, even when your heart was quiet. I felt it. And that was enough. Chapter 8. After the Last Breath. After she passed, there was no time to sit with the grief. There were things to do, calls to make, papers to sign. From the hospital it was, where do we bring her? Who handles the paperwork? Which funeral service? What now? I wasn't prepared for any of it. But people showed up. Some of our siblings stepped in to take care of parts. One didn't know how to handle. Other people helped coordinate. And I stayed with Mama, did the tasks that didn't need permission, supported from the side. Not loudly, just steadily. The wake came, then the funeral, then the day after. I helped clean the house. It felt strange, quiet, heavy, her things still there. The space where she used to rest, now still. And I remember something small. The portable toilet I bought for her. She used it. That detail stayed with me. Not because it was grand, but because it reminded me. Sometimes love is offering something, even if it might not be accepted. I had given it not knowing if she'd use it. But she did. And in that moment, I learned something I'll carry with me. Just offer. Whether they take it or not, whether they use it or not, offer anyway. That's the act of love. That's enough. If I imagine her now, watching me carry the box of things she once used, not with sadness but with tenderness, I think she might smile and say, you didn't have to know everything. You just had to care. And you did. Chapter 9. The Ache That Stays, and the Love That Lingers. After the funeral there was no grand moment of closure, no deep breath that made it all feel better, just days that followed each other. Quietly, heavily, softly. I stayed to help, cleaned the house, made space for her son, space she would have wanted him to have, sorted through legal documents, insurance papers, SSS PAG IBIG forms, all the things grief doesn't wait for. That's when the ache started showing up in strange ways, not as sobs, but as stillness. I'd pick up something she used to wear, move a drawer, refold a towel, and suddenly my chest would tighten. She was gone, but everything still felt like her. I remember, on August 5th, just before everything happened, a stray cat appeared. Out of nowhere, it was meowing from the branch of a mango tree, soaked from the rain, crying out for help. It didn't look like any of the neighbors' cats. It didn't act like it belonged, and yet, it felt like it was meant to be there, like it came to say something I couldn't yet hear. I don't know if it meant anything, but it felt like comfort, like a message, like maybe she sent it. I didn't try to explain it, I just received it. Let it be what it was, a moment of softness in the middle of sorrow. And I remember something else too. That day in the parking lot, when she broke down, she said something about solving the debt, how her insurance money would take care of it. At the time, I told her, "Your life is more important than debt. This burden isn't yours to carry." But now, looking back, she did what she said. She solved it. She carried that weight to the very end. And in her own quiet way, she lifted it from the rest of us. That was her love. Quiet. Relentless. Heavy. And if I imagine her now, not as she left, but as she is now, she's standing under that mango tree, dry and smiling. The rain has stopped. The cat is safe. She turns to me and says, "I didn't leave you empty, I left you lighter." And maybe that's true, maybe the ache stays, but maybe love does too, and maybe, just maybe, that's how I'll keep carrying her. Not with sorrow, but with softness. For the ones who don't know how to talk about feelings. There was a time I felt uncomfortable, even cringy, when people talked about feelings. Not because I didn't care, but because it felt foreign. I wasn't raised to name sadness or fear, or even love. In our house, emotions were often met with silence, anger, or avoidance, so I learned to stay quiet. To stay safe. Even now, saying things like, "I miss you," or "I'm hurting," can feel like I'm doing something wrong, like I've broken some old, invisible rule. But I've realized that awkwardness isn't a flaw, it's a sign I'm doing something new, something brave, something no one taught me how to do. If you feel that way too, like you don't know how to talk about what's inside you, you're not broken. You're just at the beginning of becoming someone who can love, speak, and feel without fear.
Grief is not always loud. Sometimes it's a quiet ache, a question that lingers in your mind, a memory you wish you could step back into and live differently. This story was my way of seeking peace, of understanding my sister a little more, of forgiving myself a little more. As Seneca once said, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. So may your imagination become a place of refuge, not regret, a place of healing, not hunting. May you learn to love more gently, even when it's too late to say the words aloud. If you are carrying your own ache, if there is someone you miss, someone you are still trying to make peace with, I hope these pages helped you feel a little less alone. Thank you for listening. Thank you for allowing her memory to live on through these words. And thank you for letting me share what I could not carry alone.